Howdy, guys. It's Steve Finn. I'm back at you with another episode of Transparency here on CHMR 93.5. I gotta say, I missed you guys. I've been off for the last couple of weeks. Took some time off to focus on another chunk of episodes to keep you entertained. Now, we got a great one for you tonight. Our featured band for the evening is a little group called Terra from here in St. John's. They're one of the best live acts to go see. They put out an album earlier this year, back in June. It's known as Temples, which is what the band was formerly known as before they had a name change. Right now, you can hear in the background a little track from that album, Temples. It's one of the interludes that's on there. It's really great mood music. The whole record is just a dreamscape, and it's a journey to listen to from start to finish. So this band got formed in 2013. The roster is as follows. We have Richard Seypka on vocals and guitar, Chad Murphy also on guitars, Jason Mack on keys, Nathan Day on drums, and Tony McNeil on bass. So we have two of the members of Terra in the studio today. We have Richard Seypka and we have Nathan Day. So we'll be hearing from them in just a little bit, but you probably want to get more familiar with the band before we do that. So why don't we start with one track. This is the first track off the album Temples. It's called Blood Orange. Let's have a listen.
I need a
All right, that was Blood Orange by Terra, our featured band for the evening. And now that we've heard a track, why don't we meet a couple of members? In the studio today, we have Richard Seypka, the frontman, and also Nathan Day, who is the percussionist.
Hello, hello.
What are you at?
Welcome, guys. Not much. What are you at?
This is it, man. Excited to be on. It's
Okay.
nice to see this program.
Yeah, big fan of the show, man.
Well,
Yeah, stoked for you to have us.
Well, I'm flattered. I'm blushing already. We're not even a minute in. So, you guys are part of the band Terra. First of all, I got to say, guys, I've been listening to the record. There's no one else making music like this in the city or in the province, for that matter. So I got to say, hats off to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
we
very
appreciate that. That's kind of the goal here.
That's
Yeah,
the goal,
really.
eh?
Yeah.
I would
kinda.
say mission accomplished.
Thank
so
you.
this first album is Temples, as it's called. You just released it. Was it July?
June, end of June.
Yes.
And we
that's
had
what-
our release show July 11th
Okay.
at the Rock House.
How did it go? I wasn't in town.
It was awesome. It was actually the same night as Rod Stewart, but we still sold out.
Oh, yeah. Strangely enough, the crowds don't overlap.
Right.
Bunch, eh, bye.
No, not
Okay.
really.
So, Richard, you're the guy who started this project.
Yes.
Now, the album is called Temples.
Yes, it is.
It's also the original name of the band.
Yes.
You were known as Temples before Terra.
Yes, we were.
But this whole thing started with an RPM challenge. So how did that get started?
So with the RPM challenge, it's kind of like it's a bit of a dare. Can you do an album in 1 month?
Right.
You know, and you have to write it and record it. So that's where the Temples moniker kind of was created. It was actually created through a song that was called Temples, which is actually on this record. And it just kind of grew from there. It wasn't meant to be a band that was going to go play shows. It was meant to be just like this little entity that I wanted to create just to release a few songs in a weird kind of fashion.
So it wasn't meant to be a band in the first place.
No, not really.
Just a music project. So you didn't have any plans with it after it was finished? It was just
No,
get it
because
done?
like I was so focused on the RPM that, you know, I couldn't really think about anything else.
Right.
Like whether this was going to, continue or have success.
Okay. So the band, as it is known now, that probably got started the following year in 2013.
Yes.
Nathan, is that when you came on as the drummer?
Yes, sir.
Right on.
I believe it was. I think I reached out to you through a recommendation of a mutual friend of ours, and he said that they were looking for a drummer. Not something I normally do, because when you're in the percussion business, you're normally in a very demand-driven sort of relationship, so you kind of pick and choose your acts. But I listened to these guys online, and I was like you had prefaced me having said this, I hadn't heard anything like it. It was like some weird kind of cross between Radiohead and like old school prog rock stuff,
Right.
which was really intriguing to me, mostly because I wanted to meet the guy who was responsible for doing this. I hadn't heard good program percussion locally done, I think, in my lifetime, short of things that are like novelty good, like waltz drum beats on Casio keyboards, right? So, yes.
And that's how it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, he reached out to me, and when I saw this guy play the Skins for the first time, my jaw dropped. I was like, "This is the guy I need." You know, it was almost like Animal,
Yeah.
just invisible. You don't even know where his hands are half the time.
Well, having heard the record, I see the appeal. So, yeah.
Thanks, man.
And with regards to the rest of the guys, is this all the original lineup? Has there been any changes?
There has been some changes. Like when I had success through the RPM, people were like, you should play this. So it wasn't really serious. It was just like, I'm going to go play it live,
Right.
And so I had some other players coming in and out, some changes. But then when I decided that I wanted to do this for serious and release a professional album, that's when I found Chad, Jason, Nathan, and Tony.
Right on. Going forward onto that actual LP that you put out this year, that was it was produced by yourself.
Yes.
And another fella.
It was produced by me. I had help recording the percussion by Rick Hollett at Stagehouse.
Right.
Then I recorded all the rest of the instrumentation and vocals at my house at Art of Sound Studios. I have an old heritage home It has 12-foot ceilings, and it's beautiful sound.
Right.
So we recorded all the instrumentation and vocals there, and then it was mixed by Elfio Annabellini and mastered by Noah Mintz in Toronto. So it kind of went around, bopped around a little bit.
And Alfio Annabellini, he's pretty accomplished. He's worked with Joel Plaskett, Big Sugar, Danko Jones.
Yeah, man, he's
So did you
hero of mine.
Yeah. So he was sought after. for
Yes,
this.
actually, I went to Metalworks as a recording engineer for school, and he was one of the teachers there. And so when I heard some of the works that he had done and realized how much knowledge the guy had, I just wanted to, befriend him and get under his wing and learn something. And we actually had a pretty good relationship. And he said to me, he's like, "Rich, come back to me one day and get me to mix your album."
That's so sick.
So he gave me 50. He gave me a real sick deal, like 50% off
Okay.
for mixing all of the record.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and I love the guy. He's proud of the record. I'm proud of the record. Like, he's like a family member to me.
Right on.
He's like my old dad.
So you recorded in that old house you got.
Yeah.
Where Nathan, where'd you have the drum set up in there?
We did that. That was with the help of Rick Hollett.
Yeah.
He is, my God, he's pretty accomplished himself. I think he's a Juno Award winner. Is that correct?
Yeah, he engineered
mixing,
and mixed a record that won a Juno.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what it was. But man,
More of a traditional
that
act.
was such a great time, especially because me and you could work off the floor, and we did it in Stagehouse Studios. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's a beautiful little spot out in St. Philip's. It's right on the water. It's like a big resort home that they have the entire main foyer converted into a tracking room, and then they have the control room off into like what would be the dining area. And it was just so intense. We did it in basically 28, 29 straight hours of just banging it out. And it was a great learning experience for myself. And I think for both of us, I'd never been in a situation where I had to step up my game so much in a brief amount of time. So I'm thankful that I got to do that.
It was amazing.
It was a great time.
had my shoes and socks off with a stick, almost like a conductor, and he's beating on the drums. And actually, every drum take that we did on the record is complete, and he did them all on the last take.
Those were all the last takes.
All
we
the
hear
last takes,
Yeah, we
from start to
literally
finish,
finished
and uncut.
it in the last.
No way.
Yeah.
It was gone, man. We had like 5 minutes left to get out of there by the time we had run out of basically time and money. So it was like
We had budgeted out
Yeah.
enough, certain amount of money for percussion, and
Yeah.
at that point, we had basically got, we just crossed the line.
it was so wild. You ever hear the theory that like the amount of time it takes to do something is basically exactly equal to the amount of time you give yourself?
Yeah.
This is a lot like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when the heat is on, suddenly you could do
Anything.
Yeah, you could make miracles happen.
Oh, I can't
Exactly.
play this record. I
sometimes
can't
when
do
you
this
can't-
stuff. No, I could never recreate that. It was too wild.
And sometimes when you have too much time, you give yourself too much of a break, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you maybe you're too relaxed.
True.
So I think maybe this was just right, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So it's probably good time to get to another track. We're going to play Sundays. This is track number 7 off the album Temples from the band Terra. And we'll be back with more Transparency with your host, Steve Finn. Stay tuned.
you working with a group? Do you need to have more space and a comfortable working environment? Then come into the Commons. We now have 6 collaborative workstations in place to help your group projects come together. These stations can accommodate up to 6 people at a time and can be booked online on our website. To learn more, please come visit us at the 2nd floor of the QE2 library or visit us online at thecommons.mun.ca.
Hi, this is Chelsea Skanes, and you're listening to your only alternative radio station, 93.5 CHMR FM.
All right, we're back. So that was Sundays by the band Terra, our featured act for the evening. And we're not only listening to Terra, we're also talking to Terra because we got Richard Seypka and Nathan Day of the band Terra in the studio. Hello again, guys.
Hello, Stephen.
Hello.
It's so awesome to be here.
So, since we just heard Sundays, probably a good time to talk about that music video you made for it.
Yes.
It's pretty interesting from what I understand. You took a year to produce it.
Yeah, we took a year. It actually took the same time as the record. So when we started tracking drums is when we started the video, and then we finished tracking the album, and then we finished the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you started on that, there was no recorded product of that song to reference.
Well, there were demos. There were recordings
demos,
of the
okay.
songs, but the album itself hadn't even been started to be recorded.
Right.
You know, those songs were never meant to be on a professional album. It had to be recorded from scratch all over again. We just had reference demos that we had recorded.
Gotcha.
So we knew the feel of the song. We weren't going to line, with the video idea that we had, we weren't going to line it up with the song, so there was no need to have the finished product before the video.
Well, there's a pretty strong narrative going through this video, so it's not really as reliant on the tempo as, say, some dance song.
Yeah. And there's no cuts to us, playing instruments or anything like that, so there's no need to, you know what I mean, to match up any video with audio. And we understood that. So that's why we went ahead and started with the video, because we wanted to have 4 seasons in the music video.
Okay.
So we knew we needed to go a year anyways.
Right on.
Yeah.
But I definitely have some questions after watching that video. I mean, well, first of all, that actor you got.
The Traveler?
Yeah, I mean, my last guest on the show was Jeremy Charles, and I had to take a double take. I thought this guy was Jeremy Charles.
Well, I love both of those men. I love
looks
Jeremy
just like-
Charles, and I love Greg, downtown Greg Brown, which is the guy that is the actor in this video. It is not Jeremy Charles, everybody, St. John's, Newfoundland.
Yes,
Yeah, hey,
okay.
Though I wish it was, now that we're talking about it.
If they made a movie about Jeremy Charles, I think this fella should play the
I
part.
think they are making a movie about Jeremy Charles, but it's
Yeah.
biographical, not autobiographical.
I think we
Right.
should show this video to Jeremy Charles as inspiration to his own video.
Hey, bud.
Yeah. But first of all, what was the location for that video? Where'd you shoot that?
All across Newfoundland. So there's
All
some
over.
central, there's some coastline, there's some... I mean, we went around a lot of the outskirts of St. John, so sometimes we're, in Cape Spear, sometimes we were in Kilbride, sometimes we went out to Torbay, we went to some central places. Yeah, man, we just wanted to show a side of Newfoundland that hadn't really been shown before. Screw all this, coloring, the shots out and making everything look beautiful. This is a muggy old gray place, right?
Right.
But we still have beauty here and a wilderness that's just amazing. So we wanted to show that for what it's really all
Sure.
about,
Yeah.
How are we going to hawk this as a tourism ad? I guess we can't, but it'd be pretty sweet.
Well, it depends what you're into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come see Newfoundland for their blue humanoids.
Straight up.
But what was the actor's name again?
Greg Brown was
Greg
the
Brown.
Traveler.
So he got a huge workout.
Oh my God, yeah. he
filming
did.
this for you because
He
he's
walked
climbing
around.
rocks. He's scaling mountains and stuff. Did you hire him based on his
He's actually a
skills
good
as
friend of mine.
Okay.
And he just looked at the part, and I was like, do you want to do this? And he was crazy enough to say yes. And, I mean, I think after this, he wants to act. He enjoyed it so much that I think he wants to go into it. And I think he
I
should,
did not
man.
know that.
For sure.
Yeah, I think he should.
Right. Now, when I was watching it, like the editing of this video, kind of like I sensed a Kubrick inspiration to that. Like especially when it cuts to Sundays, the title card, like it's almost like right out of The Shining. I don't know if that was intentional, but that was the
Sick.
Well, we definitely had some inspirations. Ben Noah produced the album.
right.
So
Video, dear.
he's a huge movie lover, and
Okay.
he definitely has some influences that you'll probably taste through this video. But I mean, he did a great job, and all the actors did an amazing job. All
Right.
the cameramen, everybody, right down to I think Ben's mother brought us sandwiches. So I mean, like it was a group effort, and I think everybody that was involved with it really like furthered their career. I think, or like re-inspired themselves to go further with like their personal craft because it was so different and so strange and so fun, right?
Right. And the climax, you could call it, of this video, you know, it's. Should I spoil it? I don't know. This
Go ahead,
This
yes.
turn
Yeah,
of
you're gonna be
events-
hard
this-
to talk about it without
I'm-
spoiling.
yeah, this alien thing, this blue, like humanoid, scaly looking thing comes out of the water, and it looked really, really good. And I imagine it wasn't just makeups. It seemed like there were some visual effects added.
No, there was
No?
not. There was no visual effects used in the making of Sundays.
It looks so good. Like
We actually had the makeup made. It's a proprietary makeup that this guy makes in Hollywood for Hollywood movies. It cost us like $1,000 for this makeup. It's saltwater resistant. So like it goes on as a spray,
Okay.
and it only comes off with like isopropyl alcohol,
so, he was able to be submerged in ocean water, and it wouldn't mess up the
and it
makeup.
would not do anything. If anything, it enhanced it.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Because it probably just like
He had-
trickles off like a duck, right?
exactly. And he had contacts that covered his full eye and white of his eye,
Right.
black, right?
Right.
So he did look, and he looks crazy. Anyways, it's my buddy Dave Porter.
Shout out.
And yeah,
Dave?
shout out Dave, man. What a great job you did.
Okay.
And he looked amazing.
It was amazing. Now the band isn't featured in the video. Were you guys out there with the helping with the shooting? Or
No, I didn't get to make it out. I wish I could have now in hindsight because, I mean, I guess ignorance stopped me from understanding of how sweet it was going to be. Like, I was blown away. When the guys were like, oh, we're walking around in the woods and getting shots, I was like, okay, cool. Like, scenes of Newfoundland, like land and sea. I don't know. I didn't know what to expect.
Well,
and
this-
then when they showed me the proof, remember that morning when they showed us the first thing? And it didn't even have the Dave thing shot yet. I was like, get out of here. It's wild. Like, the equipment was top grade. Everyone did an amazing job. The shots, it was like intelligently shot. The narrative managed to come through despite the fact that
This was actually, this whole
what I
storyline was like a dream that I'd had.
right?
And you know, it was all based around this, like me just waking up on the beach and then this like alien thing. I don't know, maybe I was watching Prometheus the weekend before. I'm a huge sci-fi fan,
Are
as
you?
it is.
Okay.
So like I you know, I'm constantly dreaming up these weird stories and stuff. And where I'm a musician and where I had this opportunity with this album, I wanted to like insert, you know, some storyline to make it more interesting for
Yeah.
the fan, for the listener.
So inspiration from dreams, and as I understand, that's kind of where the whole temple's concept came from for the record. Didn't that come to you in a dream in some form?
Yeah, like the whole kind of concept of temples is it's almost
Come
like
on.
my own personal process of like, you know, dealing with my ego and living my life and dealing with religion and like finding myself. And then there's like a bigger view of like us as a people, like humankind, you know?
Right.
And that's where the sci-fi effect came into play for me, because it was like, I wonder what these aliens would actually think of what's going on in our heads, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, are we all like completely broken and like they would just laugh at us, or would they want to help us? So this story developed from that, you know, this alien being chosen from, you know, to come across the universe to bestow the knowledge of all the universe to this one chosen guy. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And that's where that story came about.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that, I guess that's where he goes and finds that like alien egg. He's got the key to it. That he has that because he's the chosen one.
He's the chosen one.
Okay.
It actually, like, if you look inside the record, there's a comic that tells the whole backside story of the alien, of what happens before he, you know, comes out of the water. and
Okay.
it gives you a play-by-play on, why they came, what that egg thing is that he finds. It's actually a piece that comes off the ship. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of meat for people to dig into here. If you like comics, if you like sci-fi, if you like movies, it's all in this record.
Right.
And
Since we're on the subject, you had Mike Feehan doing some artwork on this.
Yes,
record.
all the inside, the comic I was telling you about was all done by Mike Feehan.
Check him out.
He is amazing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
good.
I'm sure most people have heard of Marvel Comics,
Yes.
and
And he's worked with them. Yes.
He's worked with them. So you were a fan of him, I guess.
Oh,
and-
yes.
And asked for him.
Actually, it was Nathan that
Yeah.
brought him to my attention.
He had a release. It was like an illustration that I bought off him in person. He was a really nice guy. Of Jeff Sterling, and it was Captain Canada and Captain Newfoundland, shooting ahead of it. It was on the cover of the Herald and stuff.
But it was so graphic. It was like something
brilliant.
out of Watchmen. Like you could see every little
literally,
dimple
he could
and
easily
crinkle.
illustrate for a comic book.
Yeah,
The proof's in the pudding.
I
right?
had Judd Haynes do the front and back cover of the album,
Right
and
on.
we were thinking about doing something on the inside, and that's where Mike Feehan's name came up when we talked about the backside story of the alien, because the video is more of like the traveler's journey.
Okay.
And the inside of the album is the alien side of the story, and then they kind of
Yeah.
converge a little
That
bit.
would have cost a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, I didn't have the CGI to go to this alien's island and watch him
Space.
travel to Earth,
Right.
fortunately.
So as I mentioned earlier, Temples, the CD, it used to be the name of not just the CD, but the name of the band as well.
Yes.
And Terra is the name you changed to, so it's not the original name.
No.
That's always interesting to me when, you were kind of forced into changing the name, right?
Yeah, well, I guess you could say that.
I think we just thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I got really tired of people being like, I heard you guys on the radio. When you put out your new album, man? You guys got like 200,000 views on you. It's like, no, dude.
Different Temples.
You will notice that none of us are a part of that. And
It's an English band.
Yeah, it's a band from Britain, right?
Yes.
That
And it's like you
They
can go
changed
one of
their
two
name
ways.
from Moonbeams to Temples, and they had some good, some critics say some really good
Exactly.
things, and they kind of got big overnight. And so, there was confusion about our name, so we thought it was a good idea to change it, especially where we hadn't released our LP at that point.
Yeah.
It was a good idea. It was a rebirth. It was a chance to take back a little bit of real estate of our own.
For sure. But in that transition process, did you feel any anxiety about possibly losing momentum from
Yes.
changing?
Of course.
I thought that, but then when I named the album Temples,
Yeah.
I kind of felt a little bit better about that. I mean, what do you
you'll
think?
take
Nick?
it back. The only thing that kind of bothers me is having to explain yourself to people who might be unaware, because there's no way that you can get a unilateral reaction, right? So basically, you got to do a little bit of backtracking, and even still, I call us temples all the time, but I have no idea. Honestly, it's sort of like a decision
new
we're done.
change.
I think we should make the CIA and just kibosh you even talking about it. And they'll be like, so you changed your name. We'll be like, what are you talking about? We have been Terra since the beginning of time. And then black bag that dude and carry him off to the woods. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's not so bad. I mean, in this city, there might be a little bit of confusion, but
Yeah.
in
As far
reality,
as new
this is our
exposure goes,
first album.
Yeah.
This is our debut album. Nobody even knows we exist anywhere else in the world. So if we were going to dictate our name based on what people in just St. John's think, don't you think that would be a little bit stupid?
Yeah, St. John's syndrome
Yeah.
is a very real fear, but I don't
Yeah,
think we
people, if they like us, they will figure it out.
Yeah. Well, you pick the best time to make that decision. You know, now that you're making a more globalized presence, better get that out of the way before that starts building.
Yeah,
up,
it was
right?
it was now or never kind of situation, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think it's time to hear another track. We're going to listen to track number 5 off the new CD from Terra, Temples. It's called Make It Happen, and we'll be right back with more Transparency.
Whoop whoop.
They've been waiting so long, you see, and it CHMRFM.com, where we talk about and listen to alternative and hardcore music. 45 every Friday with me, Liz Waterman, at CHMR FM.
The Association for New Canadians is currently recruiting volunteers to provide one-on-one assistance to newcomers who are interested in learning about St. John's, Canadian culture, and the English language. If you enjoy meeting new people, learning about different cultures, and helping newcomers feel welcome, email ancvolunteer@nfld.net to get started. This announcement has been a public service of 93.5 CHMR FM.
Hi, this is Luke Major from Mercy the Sexton, and you're listening to CHMR 93.5 on your FM dial.
Working your days together, nights spent making sure and flick.
Okay, that was Make It Happen by Terra off their debut CD, Temples. We are back in the studio with Richard and Nathan from the band Terra. My name's Steve Finn, and you're listening to Transparency.
Hello.
Thanks again for coming in, guys.
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad you could make the time for me. Since we just played Make It Happen, I just wanted to ask, because I was listening to it and I noticed a little bit of a Jamaican influence to that.
Yeah, like some people say police too. It's, I kind of got a little bit of a Jamaican thing going on in the voice. Sometimes I'll take syllables away or kind of, use that tone.
Right.
I like it.
And you had the slap bass going from Tony on that.
Yes, of course. He slapped a bass on that one.
Slap it bass, man.
Yeah, like we like to have a lot of different influences in our music. Like some people catch up on it sometimes. You know what I mean? But for people that don't see that, it just sounds different and weird. So it's always a pat on the back to hear that.
Right on. So let's just get back to the album Temples. It's really rich. It's so layered. I wanted to ask you, Nathan, because other than a standard drum kit, it sounds like there's a lot more percussion going on. What kind of stuff were you using?
That would be Rich's programming. I just laid down the drum tracks myself because Rich had programmed all these songs before I'd even come into the picture.
Gotcha.
A lot of those motifs were taken and done as samples that Rich had recorded on his computer again.
Okay.
So it's basically them being played.
Yeah,
on the
what
keyboard.
it was is we actually took recordings of hand claps, of stick clicks, and other things, and then what we did is we made samples out of them, and then kind of
match them onto what I was already playing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So when we play live, he does those live, or
as best as you can, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's like every time we play live, there's going to be like a little bit of a different element that comes across, but the percussion is so layered and it's so rich that you can kind of do different things with it every time you play live.
Cool.
And we
pick
had
and
a
choose
guy
from the
back
layers.
us up. I really want to get another guy to do percussion with us, but we had a cat, Alan, who was helping us out last time, Alan Brake.
For a
And
release show?
Man, how great it was to have someone to play with.
Yeah.
Right.
It was our first
rhythmically.
show for this album, so when we wanted to do this show, we were like, we want to do this exactly like the record. So we got another percussionist, so we did it with a 6-piece.
So sweet, because to have someone who can hold down his own and can understand what I'm doing frees me up a lot. And it like he could pick my brain completely, right? Oh, he could pick my brain and understand what it was that I was going to want to dance around from the recordings.
Right.
And he just kept it super simple, super tied down. I had that to come back with, so I could basically flirt with being always there and then fly off and do some things that are great for live embellishments that you don't want to hear on a record, especially if you want to hear it over and over again. Like you don't want a 9-bar fill in the middle of your super tight pop song, but it's great to see live.
Right.
Yeah,
when I'm doing drum tracks with a band, sometimes I'll go a little too crazy.
Oh yeah.
And like I'll have something in mind, but when I'm thinking about recording, I'll be like, okay, maybe this fill I'll save for the live shows. And probably omit it from the recording because it's a little too busy for that.
Whatever the craziest thing you could do in studio is, scale that back 25%. That's what it'll be good enough for you to put down on record. And that's what you should, because it's tasteful, you know what I mean? I think the replay value is doing simple things comfortably, not trying to throw in all these bells and whistles. I had a long period, like in high school and things, doing records in my basement of taking 6 hours to do one song just because I wanted to be a wizard on every friggin' track, and it's not worth it. You're never going to make it bang on. I never really came into my own understanding that until this
And a good
album.
record can't only be for the musician either. It's got to be for the
No, hell
listener,
no.
you know?
It should be a song, really.
Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. And what does the listener want? They want a song, not you just flapping around and trying to show your chops, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, showing off is one thing, but, you know, it's a collaborative effort. It's not about you. It's about making the final product work as a unit.
Exactly.
But just tell me, how long did you spend recording, like the actual recording part of it? How many days was that?
I'd say it was probably about 4 months of recording, because each time that we were going to record a different section of the record, like for instance, like percussion, that's kind of like a process,
right?
And then the instrumentation was kind of a process, and then the vocals were a bit of a process.
Okay.
So there was like a little bit of a break between, just a little bit of pre-pro, just to get things ready for that particular thing.
Gotcha.
And then you go. So yeah, there's probably about a week or so between each thing that we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So it took about 4 months.
Okay.
To do. Yeah.
Nathan, did you use your own kit, or did you get rentals, or?
I used my own kit.
What kind of kit you got?
I got a Mapex M-Birch 7-piece, but I stripped it down to a 5 for the purposes of recording.
Right.
And I swapped out some of the cymbals to the ones that they have at the studio, just because they pick up a lot better. Like,
what did they have?
Oh, it was just Peisty 2000s.
Nice.
They were super sheen, and for the crashes, a lot of mine are like kind of muddied up because that's just how I play, like a little bit dirty for like live purposes.
Gotcha.
But for studio, you have this huge frequency range you can take advantage of,
Mm-hmm.
so you want to have it be there, right?
Yeah, they were
so
great.
I think we swapped out both crashes by the end of it, just to have contrast.
We had access to, I think, 27 guitars that we used. And some of our really good musician friends, like Chris Kiersey, gave me a couple of his beautiful axes to use as well.
Nice.
So we had a lot of palette, a lot of colors in the palette for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of gear, Chad Murphy.
Yes.
He's kind of known around town for having a ton of gear.
Oh my God.
How many guitars does he have?
Oh my God, I'd say a good 30 or 40 of them.
See,
but
that's crazy.
I think in his go-to is a good 8 or 10.
I've seen him literally use a different guitar every time we've played or practiced.
And I mean, the guy's amazing. Like, he deserves all that gear because he really put his stamp on this record. He really did.
Mm-hmm.
Every solo is his solo that he wrote.
Right.
And certain melodies that he put in there, he wrote those.
Okay.
Like, I did write most of these, like the core of the songs. But when it comes to like someone adding to it, Chad and Nathan really put their own stamp on this record for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Chad's the man.
Chad is the man. So the mixing was done by Alfio Annabellini, as we were talking about, but the mastering was done by Noah Mintz. Obviously, we gotta give props to that guy. Were you happy with the work he did?
Oh my God! When you have someone like that can work on your record, I don't think that's the word. I think blessed.
Right.
It was amazing. This guy's done a lot of stuff, and that I'm a huge fan of. And Alfio Annabellini is actually a good friend of his. And when Alfie was done mixing the record, he was like, I'm going to play this for someone and see if they want to master it for you.
Right.
And so when he played it for Noah, he emailed me. He was like, let's get started. And we went.
Right on. What was your first impression, Nathan, when you first heard it for the first time?
Oh, it's night and day. It didn't occur to me how brilliant it was until we really sat down and listened to the whole thing, start to finish, when you had the Lacquer Channel program installed on your computer, and we sat down and basically like did the once over, and it starts to dawn on you that this is what had come to fruition. You know what I mean? Because I think sometimes when you're working on something and you hear it in small increments, the magnitude of it can get lost. You know what I mean? So I had taken like 2 months away, and Rich called me and was like, man, you gotta come down and hear it. And it was like, well, it blew my mind.
We had it mastered specifically for vinyl and CD. So, and I knew I wanted to do that with Noah, right?
Right.
If it was anybody else mastering it, we maybe just would have mastered it once and then used that.
Right.
Yep.
But where we had the opportunity to use someone with such a library of amazing albums that he's done.
Right. Like, the decision to use him makes sense to me, because he's used to working on some pretty busy music. Like, he worked on
He's worked with Arcade
Fire, yeah. So
The National.
That's right up his alley. So
Big stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
love it. So what's the future like for Terra? I mean, you've come this far. What's the next step? Are you going to be touring? Another music video? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, we got another music video in the works. We're going to be playing a lot of shows, trying to get those records out. We have a tour that we're thinking about for next summer. We want to just take the year to plan that right. I don't think we want to do too many shows, but we want to make each show count. So we want to hit Toronto, we want to hit Montreal. I think for our first tour, we're going to go that far. We're going to hit Atlantic Canada, but maybe only do like 10 or 12 shows instead of trying to double it up,
God, yes, maybe even less than that if you want to really do it.
Yeah, exactly, and just make sure we have other really good acts to play with. The place is going to be filled. Because when you're not... When you're going on tour and you don't have a name, it's really hard to play shows that are like meaningful where there's people actually there. You need to like link up with bands that already have a bit of a following, and then through that avenue, share each other's
you just gotta slug in and have terrible shows.
Yeah,
that's gonna happen,
and it sucks. I mean, that's asking.
But you're gonna
to
do the
take it on
best you
chin,
can, right? You're gonna work as hard as you can to get these people out to the show.
Right.
So we have that planned as well, and this is our first album, so we have another one that we want to do. I have some ideas that are just starting to cook. So
is it going to be another concept album like the first one, or?
Well, I mean, I love where we're going with it, man, and it's like such a wide open story that you can kind of pretty and I feel like people like it. Like it's some extra media to go along with just music. There's meaning, there's storyline, there's characters, there's this dichotomy going on.
Well, I mean, goodness, you set this in what, like prehistoric Ice Age times. Where do you go from that? Like the aliens, like we could do songs about how alien technology infiltrated human society and how that influences us today and have no idea about it. You know what I mean? Like the narrative came together at the end of this, and I think if you decide to work with that, then you've got infinite amounts of things you can talk about, or you can just scrap it. I mean, no one wants to be talking about aliens all the time. But
right. No. I mean, it's just completely wide open, man. I love the reaction we've gotten from this, and who knows? Yeah, who knows what's going to come next?
So we'll see if we continue with the alien themes. You could end up being that band that guys come up to and be like, "Hey, man, aren't you that alien band?"
I'm so fine with that.
When you listen to the record, you start to realize that it's more of a metaphor for what's really going on. Like the concept goes further than just like the surface. It's about the songwriting, and it's about the songs. Like a lot of this has to deal with like the ego, the human ego.
Well, the way I see it, the aliens kind of serve as a third-person perspective on what's going on here.
It's almost like the eye.
The eye.
It's the
in
eye.
The sky. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just. We need to look at ourselves from a different perspective to really see what's going on sometimes. So this whole introduction of an alien was more about realizing who we were, not what's up in the sky.
Have you ever read The Watchmen, Steve?
I've read The Watchmen.
So, like the concept that human beings understanding that they're not the only sentient beings would put basically a huge a zeitgeist on humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I took away from it. It's just like, what are the implications after you become not a series of countries but a human race, right?
Right?
And when you finally realize that you aren't the most intelligent being in the universe,
right?
Because I think that's what it is. We think that to the point where it's detrimental to our evolution. We need to be further down on the bottom. We need to be under.
Imagine higher things, right?
There are people who say it's our only chance at world peace is to have to be forced to unify against an outside force.
Exactly. And what better way to do it with these aliens coming out of the sky that actually want to help us? Imagine if they didn't want to help us,
It's just one thing to say that it would be a central irony that if we unionized in the idea of force, I think that would be missing the point of having something higher than you. Because that would just be rejection. That would be like, we would be the Confederates in the Civil War if we thought we were going to take on the universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're just going to go down.
There's a certain innocence that you'll see through the music video that just, like this, the Traveler starts out as this brawny nature man with this big old beard. And then in the end, when he finds the stone, he cuts his beard off.
Right.
And he's a boy. And he's shivering, looking up at this alien. So it just goes to show, like, what we can be.
Yeah.
It's all about perspective.
When that moment happened in the video, I thought he was like going to slit his own throat. Was that on purpose? Were you trying to like throw the audience for a second and make it look like he was committing
It was
suicide?
a difficult time for him. It was a real difficult time for him. I don't want to like lead into anything, but yeah,
I like that, though.
When you're shaving your beard off with a bowie knife, I mean,
yeah.
there's things going on in your mind.
Yeah, it's pretty personal.
You're not thinking about the laundry you have to do. There's something heavier on your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all about just like him coming to terms with the fact that there was another higher being than
Right.
him. When he got the stone and he had the dream,
Yeah.
that was the foreshadowing.
Sweet.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it, guys.
Awesome.
But unfortunately, we got to call it a night because we're just about out of time. I want to thank my guests, Richard and Nathan, from the band Terra.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you. We had a blast, man.
I'm so glad.
Love this show.
Yeah, respect, dude.
We're going to finish up with one more track from the band Terra off their new CD, Temples. This is the titular track, Temples. And thanks again for listening, folks. This has been Steve Finn with another edition of Transparency on CHMR. See ya.
Transparency.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I've had meetings, I've carried over a past I've died, preserving hunger. I